Hello, everyone. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I am back from my YouTube vacation. So, previously, I was doing a whole bunch of videos here on YouTube trying to go through the process of becoming a software engineer and trying to figure out like what even is software engineering? What skills do I need? What's important? How do I teach myself how to become a software engineer and become good at this? So, I took a little bit of a break. The main reason I was taking a break was because I was trying to juggle both learning how to be a software engineer and also learning how to be a firmware engineer. So, my job is a firmware engineer. It's difficult to kind of explain because I am the person who does firmware in the hardware department. So I'm kind of doing it's not software. I'm writing kind of the drivers to be able to communicate with different electrical components. I'm creating the documentation for the projects that I'm doing. I'm all sorts of stuff. So I was trying to juggle learning both at the same time, and I was realizing that, okay, I'm getting myself stressed out at learning how to become a firmware engineer. I'm also getting myself stressed out trying to become a software engineer. If you do too many things at the same time, you get to the point where you're throttling yourself, and it's just not as effective. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I am going to really focus on improving my job, becoming a better firmware engineer, understanding those topics, moving forward at my job, getting better at it. And then once I feel like, okay, I have a little bit more understanding, I feel more comfortable and confident in my own ability. Well, now I can go and try to continue my path learning whichever topics in software engineering that I want to do. And that has kind of come to the point where I was at work and I was thinking to myself, I got it wasn't a new project, but it was new requirements within a project. And for the first time, I didn't really feel dread. Now, previously, when I was given new projects or things that they needed me to do, I was really nervous. Like, oh no, am I technically capable of accomplishing this or that objective that they want me to do? And I was just very nervous about my own ability. But this time they said, okay, we want you to write an I2C driver to be able to communicate with this device and get this data and do this. And I said, I and I didn't feel overwhelmed. I didn't feel confused. I mean, obviously, I wasn't just like, bam, I can write it out in a day. I was, okay, well, sure. Which device is it? Go find the data sheet, look at the data sheet, read it, try to understand. Then, okay, so here's its address, and go through the process of writing the driver for the I2C. And I was thinking, like, oh, okay, that's kind of I feel a lot more confident in my ability. So now I think I can come back to YouTube and be a little bit more active and learning those software engineering skills. Also, at work, some very interesting and exciting things have been going on. So, I don't know if you guys know the company called Anduril. They are this super innovative, super fast paced company that does a bunch of like military technology. So you can kind of compare them to Tesla. Tesla is in the electric vehicle space, and Anduril is in the military space. So similar cultures, I mean. Both Tesla and Anduril have that very fast paced, very innovative, very bam, 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 this kind of mentality. And they ended up buying my company's largest competitor. Now, obviously, that is not good for my company, but from an engineer's perspective, I was looking at that and I'm like, huh, that might mean that we're about to start working on some very interesting projects. If my company is saying, oh, now we need to compete with Anduril, all of a sudden we might start working on very interesting, very fun, very exciting projects. So after I heard that news, I was just like, yo, this is pretty cool. I am legitimately excited to see what this leads to if we are able to start working on those kinds of projects. And imagine that if I'm able to be at a level that is like Andorel, that would be incredible. So I'm looking out for what kind of projects are coming my way, and I've been trying to talk to some of the management and figure out like, okay, what kind of projects, not projects, sorry, what kind of skills should I be learning now to be able to prepare myself better for projects that our company is going to have in the future, right? So that's kind of how I'm asking it, because if they're thinking about coming up with really interesting, fun projects, I want to make sure that I'm prepared myself, that I'm going to be technically capable to accomplish those tasks. Especially because, as I've mentioned before in my previous YouTube videos, I said that I was a firmware engineer in the hardware department. I am the only firmware engineer in the entire company. So it's double-sided. There's good and bad to that. Number one, the uh, the good part to that is anytime that there's a project, I get to do it. So I get those skills, I get to learn, and it gives me a wide breadth of different projects and skills and topics that I'm able to build my competency in. And if they do decide to do one of these super cool projects, I'm going to be doing it, right? Because, well, there's no one else. Um, so I've been asking like, hey, what kind of skills should I be learning right now so that I can prepare for the future? So that's one of the things that I'm doing. Obviously, the flip side to the good is it can be kind of stressful, because if I don't know how to do something, all of a sudden, not many people to ask, just myself. So it can be stressful, and but also on the other hand, you're able to get a very wide breadth of different skill sets. So the other thing that I've been trying to do is really learn how to just become a good engineer, how to set up a project. And what I mean by setting up a project is not just rushing into it. That's what I did initially when I first got hired as an intern at this company. I got a project, bam, I would just run right through it, and that's been kind of consistent. So I became an intern, and then I worked at the company for a year, and now I just hit my 1 year anniversary as a full-time engineer. And I've still kind of kept on to that habit that I was so focused on going really quickly and just completing the project. And it might also have to do with the fact that, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I was very unsure of my own technical capability and my skill and my ability to complete the project. So I put all of my energy on the part that I felt most worrisome. And now it's been a year. I've learned through doing all of the other projects, oh, actually, it's kind of important to do project planning. It's kind of important to do documentation. It's kind of important to make sure that the stakeholders of your project actually buy into what you're trying to do. So I've learned just through trial and error over this past year, technically year and a half if you count my internship. Oh, these things are kind of important. And I also feel a little bit more confident in my own abilities. So now what I'm trying to do is, okay, how do you actually create a sustainable project? How do you create something that's maintainable? How do you create something that's scalable? How do you create something? Because I got burned by that. I got burned hard by not creating a scalable project. I've done a bunch of projects, but one of the projects is they initially wanted me to do they said a quick project, right? And the timeline that they were saying was like 3 days. So I developed it without any kind of thought of scalability. Turns out that project grew and grew and grew and grew in scope, and now it's gotten to the point where when they ask for uh, more features in this project, it's like it's not the right framework. I didn't choose the right framework. I didn't like it. It cannot grow anymore. It's too bloated, and so I've got burned by that. Luckily, that project is in the past. It's working. Things are going good, and now I just keep it in my head like, hey, yeah, make sure that you can maintain things. Make sure that you can scale it effectively. So now I am trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I create good documentation? How do I take a project from start to planning to development to implementation to testing to production to maintaining? How do I take a project through that? And so that's kind of what I'm learning at work. So at work, I'm doing a ton of interesting things. I'm learning a lot, both technically and on a project management point of view. And also, I am very hopeful going forward into the future about what our company is going to be doing. So, all sorts of good stuff going on at the company, and I'm feeling good. The other big news that I was dealing with over the past couple months is Susie ended up getting a full time position at Amazon. So, we have to move to Seattle. Now, we will do like so we had to do with all of that, like finding an apartment, moving the stuff, and technically I am now a resident of Seattle, even though now, like currently, right now, I am still in Oregon. But the way that I talked, my company is in Oregon, it's in Portland, and now I'm living in Seattle. How's that working, right? Like, so what's going to happen is I am going to work Mondays and Fridays from home. So I'm going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday in Seattle, and then come down to my parents' house, which is here in Oregon, and then I'm going to work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in person in office in Portland. So it's going to be a little bit chaotic, but that's what I was doing as well is in addition to all of the chaos kind of going on at work, also trying to deal with the chaos of moving, finding an apartment, getting all of that stuff dealt with. So, now that is in the past. She is up there right now in Seattle, enjoying herself. She loves the city, so that's awesome. And now it's kind of more in a not routine because that happened yesterday. We moved in on Sunday and today's Monday. So just happened, but now that that is over, I feel a lot better on the idea of okay, cool. Finally, I can take a little bit of time and start going back to learning what is a software engineer, not a firmware engineer, because the more I learn about it, the more I realize firmware and software are completely different. Completely different. So, okay, what is a software engineer? What's important? What are all of these concepts that I've never even heard about? Like previously, I didn't know what design patterns. What is a design pattern? I had no idea about that. So what are those? Okay, what is creating I said scalable project in the term or in the context of firmware. Well, what is the equivalent over in software? How do you do that? So, all of these very interesting things that I'm going to be trying to develop here on YouTube, and also continuing to learn and improve myself at work. So, anyways, thank you guys for watching. I will be making more YouTube videos. Now, I'm not in the past. I think that this was another thing that kind of led to my burnout is I committed that I'm going to make a video every single day. No matter how tired I am, no matter how much I'm not doing that anymore. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. If I've had a long day at work or something comes up, I'm not doing a video. I'm just going to take it more chill. Life is about fun. Life is about being happy and enjoying your journey through this life. And I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, oh, I hate software engineering because I've just forced myself to do it all the time. Software engineering is fun. I like doing it. It's fun to build these projects. And that's what I want to maintain and keep that kind of attitude of happiness. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Timothy Lee Grant, and I will see you guys very soon. All right, bye.